Right. Here we go. Awesome. We were getting the StreamYard thing down, I promise. Hope y'all are doing well tonight. We've got a lot of awesome news to cover. May the 4th be with you, first and foremost. Hope y'all are doing well out there in podcast land and Facebook Live. And actually, we are live for the very first time in a long time on YouTube. So if you go and search Travel Tips Tuesday right now on YouTube, if you're not watching it on YouTube right now, please go do that. Go search Travel Tips Tuesday on YouTube. I'm going to say this again later. Like and or subscribe to the page, and ring that little notification bell so you get the notifications that we're going live there. So just something that we're trying to do to expand our reach a little bit, to hopefully help some folks out and spread the Disney love, as it were, a little bit. So I'm really excited about tonight's topic. This is just sort of a little bit of pre-show talk for you, for those of you that are here now, because we've covered this before. We've talked about traveling with large families before, but not since all the pandemic craziness has happened. We've kind of sprinkled in some tidbits of advice here and there, but we're going to take sort of a pandemic look at traveling at large families to Disney and seeing kind of how maybe things have changed a little bit, and hopefully that will be helpful to you. If you work with large families, or you're part of a large family, you're thinking about planning a multi-family trip down to Disney, or maybe some of these things would help you out with a different part of your vacation planning need. So we've got some folks that are coming tonight. Awesome. So Jen Wilderman says, and also with you. There you go. It's a very liturgical response to May the 4th be with you. So awesome. So let's go ahead and get started for our podcast, folks, shall we? And we would love to hear from you tonight. Tonight, this is Travel Tips Tuesday, and it is May the 4th, 2021. May the 4th be with you, everyone. International Star Wars Day. We're celebrating with everybody. And our question of the day is, what Star Wars experience, again, our question of the day is, what Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? So again, what Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? Where all these different things that are out there that Disney could do: dining, attractions, character greetings, thematic, elements. If it's a music, if it's a lighting, if it's a special effect thing, whatever it is, if it's a special tour. I mean, all those kinds of things. Creating your own Star Wars movie. I don't know, just kind of throwing it out there. We had a massive response, what I would call a massive response, maybe for me anyway, on the Facebook news feed earlier with this question. But what Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? We'd love to hear from some of you all tonight. Again, a lot of you have already commented on the news feed. Even if you have, we'd love for you to plug it in here, and would love to be able to highlight some of those here in a little bit. And we'll go back and take a look at some of those comments here in just a little bit. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about some Disney news as we get into it. So, and because it's International Star Wars Day, let's talk about some Star Wars news. Disney, they're kind of known for trying to say a lot with a little, or maybe trying to say a little with a lot in a very big, grandiose way. There are a lot of things that some people had either speculated or that we knew for a fact about some of the things we're going to say here in just a minute. But Disney made sort of a very intentional announcement and push with Star Wars today, obviously. But specifically, they're talking about the Star Wars themed hotel, the Galactic Star Cruiser, that is being built at the Walt Disney World Resort, kind of on the backside of Disney's Hollywood Studios, next to the old cast member parking lot area. But here's just sort of a little sort of snippet, and then I'm going to get into some details. I printed off what's like a 6-page article from the Disney Parks blog. I'm gonna highlight a few of those parts and talk about a few things for you. So again, I'm gonna read it. For those of you that are listening to this live or even podcast, you can look this up. The link is not in the comments now. I may put that in the podcast description later, so you can find this, so you can see some of the pictures and different things. But for everyone, I'm just going to kind of read it since we're all here together right now. So here's a bit of Star Wars news for you. Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser at Walt Disney World Resort will take you to a galaxy far, far away starting in 2022 for an all-immersive 2-night vacation experience that goes beyond anything Disney has ever created before. Now, let me stop right there. For some of you, especially if you're planning, you're like thinking you're going to go to Disney Hangout for several days, you're like, well, I don't want to go to the Star Wars Hotel for only 2 days. First of all, you're only going to be able to go there for 2 days if you can get a reservation. And I would love, like, if you want help getting the reservation, you want to get on kind of my punch list, my ready list for that, please drop your name in the comments. Let me know. Shoot me a message on Facebook, email, what have you, and would love to connect with you about that. But all that aside is the 2-night vacation is probably a very light word for it. It's an experience, and is an all immersive experience that is not going to be anything like you've ever done before. It's not going to be a cruise ship vacation. It's not an all-inclusive vacation, though it's mostly going to be all-inclusive. There's still more details that are kind of coming out about it, but it's going to be the most amazing thing you have ever experienced. I'm going to kind of read a few things for you. There's a teaser video, and we first saw this sort of in an announcement that Josh D'Amaro, who's chairman of Disney Parks and Experiences, made a quasi-announcement. He finished off a speech with what looked to be a real live working lightsaber. Today, on Disney Parks blog, YouTube, Facebook, really anywhere on the interwebs, you can find it, Instagram, all those kind of places, Twitter, you can find a link to this video of this Rey character, very simple line that was narrated. Basically, back was facing the camera, she turns around and then lights up what is a real lighting lightsaber. I've got a picture of it here. This is not the best thing anyway, because low tech, low budget. We're working on it though. We're trying to make things a little bit more accessible for you. But this particular lightsaber it looks absolutely incredible, and it's not something that you're going to be able to make. We don't really know anything about this real working lightsaber just yet. There's all sorts of speculation as to what it could be and how it could work, and what's the guest's interaction, if any, going to be with this particular lightsaber. All that we know is that there will be one somehow at the Galactic Star Cruiser experience. So we don't know that we don't know how. That's all I'm trying to say. We don't know how that's going to kind of play into everything. I'll just kind of read you the blurb from the Parks blog article. Yes, that's a new type of lightsaber Rey is holding in her hand, created by Walt Disney Imagineering, Research and Development. Guests who experience Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser will be the first to see it in action, along with so much more, starting in 2022 when this amazing 2-night adventure debuts. That's a better word for it. Not a vacation, it's an adventure. Watching that lightsaber activate right before your eyes will be just one of the countless ways that from the moment you arrive to the moment you depart, you'll be plunged into a Star Wars story where your decisions and actions, or even the casual conversations you may have, determine how your personal journey unfolds. It is a story. Is it a journey? It's a journey. One of the things that Disney is known for is being story makers, storytellers. And the whole reason why Disney employees are called cast members and not team members or employees is because they are cast in part of the whole grand show that you're a part of. The places that you can see as a guest in the parks and even Disney Springs, those are on stage areas. The places that you can't see, that you don't have access to go except under very special circumstances, those are backstage areas. You'll see signs that say cast members only. So the language even that's used in Disney parks is there to kind of give you this sort of feeling that you're sort of in the show, you're immersed in the experience. You're not just quote unquote in the Disney bubble. You're part of the show. And the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is gonna take that to an entirely new level. I'm so excited. There's some new art that I hadn't seen before that was released today, and there's a lot of really cool things for you to see there. So I highly recommend, if you have not seen this, to go to the Disney Parks blog, take a look at it. Not now while you're listening to the show, but take a look at it later. There's a bunch of other really cool things in there, some little kind of knickknacks that they mentioned, even sort of Darth Maul themed dessert that's got some horns coming out of it. That's kind of fun. And a few other little bits and bobs, as you were, that are in there. So really excited about what all that's coming with the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. And for those of you that are listening to this on podcast. Sorry about the rustling of the papers there, but we're kind of done with that right now. So the only other thing I'll mention as far as Star Wars go, you're probably noticing my shirt. I don't normally wear something like this. Normally it's either Star Wars themed or Disney themed or Travelmation themed, as it were. This is a shirt that my wife created. Shout out to Tanya. She has her own business called By Tanya Rogers, and she has a Cricut that's actually right here behind me that she does a lot of work on. She actually hand drew this, converted it to the Cricut, and this is the Clone Force 99 logo from Bad Batch or Clone Wars. So if you've watched that series, the Bad Batch series, which is the newest series on Disney Plus, debuted today. There's a roughly 70-minute or so long episode that I'm watching right after we get done tonight, and this thing is uploaded for podcast listeners. So if you haven't watched the Bad Batch, I would suggest going and watching the Clone Wars series first. There are a few seasons of it. It may take you a little while to get through it, but I promise you it'll make a lot more sense if you go and watch it before you watch Bad Batch. It's a very good, it's not just a cartoon show. The storying is good. The story arcs are pretty decent. There's a couple of kind of iffy ones, if we're being honest, in there. But it's a great storyline that kind of gives you more of a background on who Anakin Skywalker was. First of all, not just as the little boy that became Darth Vader, but gives you a lot more into his relationship with Obi-Wan. And it's pretty exciting. It's good stuff. So if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend for you to watch it. So again, as we move forward, I want to go ahead and drop this there in the viewer for you. What Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? Please tell us. I would love to know. Let's see who has commented. If anybody is, Jen says, oh man, I would love to go to Hoth. Hoth would be absolutely amazing to visit for sure. If you've seen the Starbucks has those Starbucks, and I think they're called Anywhere mugs. I've got a few of them from the parks, but they have a series of them from like Hoth, I think Batuu and Tatooine. You can actually buy them on Shop Disney. I think they're only like $20, plus shipping, of course. My buddy Jonathan Clark says, John, what a guy, what a travel agent. Love the podcast, friend. Thank you for the kind shout out, Jonathan. You're awesome. Would love to see you hopefully soon. Jen also says, dude, when I was a kid, I would love to have given anything to have had that blue milk. That dream came true in 2019. She also says that she watched half the season of season 1 of Clone Wars, I'm assuming, that we were talking about. So that's pretty cool that you've watched that. And again, please go and watch Clone Wars. Would love for you to kind of have that experience. It's good, especially if you're a massive Star Wars fan. So let's get into tonight's content. That's enough Star Wars talk tonight. Again, I'm going to leave this up for a little bit as we're kind of chatting in case anybody else drops in on the comments tonight. Would love to hear from some of you. I may go back to my Facebook news feed here in just a minute to kind of recap some of those things, as it were, for you as you're tuning in tonight. And let's get started. So top 7, ish. I'm actually not going to go one by one. I started off with kind of a top 7, and then it just kind of went on from there. But we'll say the top tips for traveling with large families or kind of multi-family or blended families at Walt Disney World. So in this sort of pre-show time, I was explaining the reason why we're doing this. If this sounds familiar before, yes, we've kind of sprinkled in some tips here and there because we have, I'm part of a family of 6, I'm married and have 4 kids. And we've talked about this before kind of in trip reports, but also even dedicated a show to it a while back, but not since the events of the past year plus from the pandemic. So things have changed a little bit as far as what to expect and how I would advise guests and families that are planning a trip. So that's why I bring it back up. I've worked with several families that have traveled to the Walt Disney World Resort. So I'm kind of taking some things that I've learned from them and also some personal experiences to kind of hopefully give you some expectations. So again, this is not if you just have a large family like you, your spouse, and kids. But I'm talking if you're bringing grandma and grandpa, or you're going with another group of friends, even if you're going with a large group, like if it's a high school or band trip or something like that. I mean, this could apply to a number of different situations as far as the things that we'll mention. So I hope this is helpful for you tonight. So here we go. All right, cool. Just making sure we are all set. Awesome. So this is what happens when you're running it by yourself. Sometimes you'll hear me just sort of talk to myself, and that's what you get. So some top tips for traveling with large families or groups. Number one, it's the most basic thing that's out there. We're focusing on Disney specifically, but these tips could be used for other things, I suppose, as well. Number one, consider the age or speed in which everyone moves. So if you're going by yourself, you're probably moving at a pretty flexible speed. You can go as hard as you want. You can go as slow as you want and as relaxing as you want. You set your own pace. If you're going with someone else, that changes a little bit, especially if that someone else is younger than you. I'm actually going to be taking my oldest daughter, she knows this now, oldest daughter to the Universal Orlando Resort, so that other resort down I-4. We will leave Sunday afternoon and be down there for 3 days. We might do a live travel tips Tuesday from Universal next week. That'll be really cool if we can work that out. And we'll be, I'll be posting and updating all sorts of Universal things, and we'll have a Universal trip report the week following that. But if when I go with her, I'm not thinking about like that particular trip. Like we're talking Universal, but even if it was Disney, we're not going to be talking about riding the Velocicoaster if we could get on at Universal right now. At Disney, she's not the biggest fan of some of the more intense rides and roller coasters. She probably wouldn't do Tower of Terror, wouldn't do Rock and Roller Coaster. So those are some of the things that I know. Okay, number one, you're gonna have to evaluate: are you gonna be able to do everything that you want to do? Probably not. At a place like Disney, you're probably not going to be able to get to do it all anyway. So realistic expectations right up there, right up front. Don't go into planning a trip that you're used to doing all the time, especially when you're going with a large group, because you're not going to be able to do it the same way as if it was just you, or if it was you and just say your significant other. So consider the age, consider the speed, consider the amount of people that will be there that will cause you to kind of move maybe at a particular pace. Number two, for lodging and accommodations, does everyone want to be in close proximity to each other? So you're like, okay, well, these people are going to be in this room, these people are going to be in that room. Well, maybe you'll deal with multiple rooms. Here's a for instance for you. So it's quite often that I will have somebody ask me, okay, help me plan my trip. Oh, and by the way, grandparents are coming. Can we get them room? Sure, would love to. Absolutely. But the thing that we don't often consider is, do the core family units, so say mom and dad and the kids, want to be right next door to the grandparents? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the grandparents don't want to be right next door to them. They want to be down there to support the family, to be there to help watch the kids, so mom and dad can go out and play, and so they can all create amazing memories together, but they don't always want to be right next door to each other. And actually, now that we bring this up, this is an important thing that not everyone may be aware of, is that Disney does not guarantee connecting rooms. Okay, so Disney does not guarantee. So you may have been there before, and like a lot of hotels, they have doors that open up and connect with other rooms, and they do not guarantee connecting rooms except in very certain and specific circumstances. For instance, where parents of minors have to be split up between two different rooms, say, one parent in one room, one parent in another room, or other special, circumstances. So in situations like that, Disney prioritizes those, right? Their official statement is they do not guarantee connecting rooms, but they do prioritize certain groups. That has just been a proven, fact, that as far as from my experience, and they will do the best job, they can to get you in as close proximity to the people that you want to be, or as far away from the people maybe that you want to be. So if you have a request for a specific building, or a request for a specific floor, as long as it fits within the room type that you've booked, because that's very important. Each building at the resorts, especially buildings like or resorts, hotels like Caribbean Beach or Coronado Springs, or even some of the value resorts like Art of Animation or Pop Century, they have these different buildings that are out there, and they're kind of scattered about. They're not all standard view. They're not all pool view or water view or preferred view. They're different ones in each building sometimes. So just be aware that Disney does the best job they can to accommodate those requests, especially when times are things are more and more booked. It can be a little bit more difficult. Again, not impossible. the earlier you request these things, typically the better. So that's just kind of one little tip for you out there. So again, for those of you that are just popping on, I want to kind of pause here real quick. What Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? Would love to hear from some of you all tonight on that. I'm going to highlight some of our Facebook feed comments real quickly, and there are a number of different very entertaining responses, and some that make more sense and some that are just kind of harassing me. My buddy Dave Adams over at the Unrelated at Birth podcast with his buddy Adam Russell says pod racing, 100% missed opportunity there. A pod racing attraction would be amazing. My friend Terry Weaver says roasted in quotations porg. There would be a very easy way to do that. I compared it to kind of my experience eating a delicacy in Peru, a certain delicacy, but he's like, well, why can't we just do like, little tiny game hens or Cornish hens or something like that? So, I mean, yeah, that would kind of make sense to do something like that. A VR experience where you could be a stormtrooper and come to face with Vader. Oh, wait a minute. That did exist at Disney, at the Void at Disney Springs. May it rest in peace. It is no longer. Speeder bikes through indoor. Now, this is a missed opportunity. There used to be a speeder bike very close to Star Tours that you could get your picture taken on or by, and occasionally Chewbacca would pop up there, but I don't think that's there anymore. Bring back the Jawas who used to trade stuff with you. That would be great. Also, this is a good one. My buddy Chris Perrin says freezing in carbonite. So when the kids get grumpy, they can be shipped back to the room. Sure, publicly you will say I'm a monster, but you do it. Yeah, more Jar Jar. So Jar Jar, we love Jar Jar. Now Zach Bay. I'm not going to put this up on the screen. He says the Kobayashi Maru. So for those of you that don't know what the Kobayashi Maru is, that is a Star Trek reference. So Zach is, he'll be banned from the page shortly. Anyway, so those are just kind of a few comments for where we're at. But again, would love to hear from some of you all. What Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? That is our question of the night. So what Disney experience what Star Wars experience should Disney add to the parks? So let's talk a little bit more about lodging. So there's the option to put family units in separate rooms, but sometimes the grandparents or maybe a couple of families, you say, brother and sister with, want to put the cousins together and kind of everybody in one spot. Maybe they can cook for each other and those sorts of things. There are accommodations in Disney Resort hotels that you can get that do have full kitchens that are available for you, that have the dishes, the cooking utensils, all those kinds of things for you available. There are not many of those. There are not many of those accommodations that do have multiple bedrooms. You may be familiar with some of the villas, the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom villas, or the 3-bedroom grand villas in some cases. There are also the cabins at Fort Wilderness that do have a little bit more stretching room. You can very easily fit a family of 6 in one of those, and they do have kitchens in them as well. But the downside to the cabins at Fort Wilderness is they only have 1 bathroom. Whereas if you jump up to the 2-bedroom villas or the 3-bedroom villas, they have multiple bathrooms. Even in the case of the family suites at Disney's Art of Animation Resort, they have 2 bathrooms as well, 2 full baths. So the bathrooms are a little bit different as far as what you'll see in what they'll look like in both, but still ability to kind of take a shower in both, and toilet combo, all those sorts of things. So all those things that you need. So again, do you want lodging that's going to fit everybody, or do you want lodging that's going to kind of split people up? Sometimes it's a little bit more economical to split the family units up, maybe, and stick them in multiple rooms at a value resort, or even some cases in the moderate resorts like Caribbean Beach or Coronado Springs. Hopefully the Port Orleans Resort, or Port Orleans Riverside and Port Orleans French Quarter resorts will be coming back soon, and we'll be talking about those. That would be an option as well. But again, it just depends on the kind of resort experience that you want, how close you want to be to the parks, the kinds of things that you want to be able to do at the resort hotel, how long you want it to take to get to other things as well. So there are a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to kind of look at it. So we've talked about the first thing, considering the sort of age and speed that people travel and move, the number of people that are traveling with you. We've talked about accommodations. We've also talked about dining. Now, dining is another issue that needs to be considered for a number of reasons. When you go with more people, when you go with more people, there are going to be more kind of specific dining needs, specific food aversions or allergies that will need to be taken into consideration. But before we get there, I want to take a look at a couple of comments from Jen Wilderman. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. She's dropped a couple of comments in tonight. The first one is this: a dining meal with Chewie, Rey, Vader, and Kylo. That would be amazing. So another one of the comments that was left on the newsfeed earlier was this exact thing. Character meals, a Star Wars character meal would be absolutely incredible. The next one she mentions is an adult Jedi class. That would be awesome too. I would love to do the class that they offer for kids. So the Jedi Training Academy they used to host right outside Star Tours at Disney's Hollywood Studios was a pretty amazing thing. Has not been brought back yet. Hopefully that will be one of the things that we see that comes back. But again, these are really cool experiences. Thank you so much for your comments, Jen. We would love to know from you all, what Star Wars experience should Disney add back to the parks? All right, moving forward to dining. That's kind of where we're going to settle tonight, and everybody loves talking about food. Mobile ordering. So mobile ordering has made things a lot easier. It is a lot easier. So speaking of Star Wars, mobile ordering is available in a few different places in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, at Docking Bay 7, and also at Ronto Roasters. So if you want that delicious Ronto wrap, man, I have not had the breakfast version, but the regular kind of lunch version that has, we think it's maybe kind of like a bratwurst or slaw in there. There's a sliced pork roast, sort of in a pita. There's this amazing sauce that they put. It's just so good. It's filling, and it is not like super expensive for a quick service meal. It's kind of a meal all in one, so to speak, and it'll fill you up for a meal. It really will. Get yourself one of those and maybe like a Coke or some water or something like that, and you'll be good to go. But you can order those through the mobile ordering app. And again, to get into the dining seating areas for a lot of the dining locations now at Walt Disney World, you have to have an active kind of food, either pickup order or a reservation for if they're a table service. So you'll have to kind of show the app. And if I might be able to get a screenshot of this, hopefully sometime to show you all. But you'll show the app to the cast member to be able to come in. You'll pick up your food and you'll find a place to sit, and you sit and you enjoy your food. So again, super easy. Just you use that in conjunction with a card that's loaded up to your My Disney Experience account. If you don't have a My Disney Experience account, by the way, and you're considering a trip to Disney and you have Disney Plus, it's the same login. If you ever, this is bonus travel tip. Hadn't planned on saying this. If you ever change the password on your Disney Plus account and you try to log into your Disney World account or your My Disney Experience account to work on park passes or dining or whatever it is, it's the same password. It's the same email, same password. So try not to have two different ones because that can confuse things sometimes. If you have questions about that, how it works, feel free to holler at me. We'd love to help you out. So again, dining, the mobile ordering has made things a lot easier. Talked about Ronto Roasters. Docking Bay 7 is another great place. So Ronto Roasters is actually open limited hours. It is one of the places that is open first thing in the morning. They have a breakfast version of their Ronto wrap that's pretty good from what I hear. So you can check that out. But even after Ronto Roasters closes, usually mid to late afternoon, typically you can still find the Ronto wrap on the menu at Docking Bay 7 that is open until later in the day. It is a quick service restaurant, one of my top quick service locations on Disney property right now. Very close up there for me with Satuli Canteen over at Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. So mobile ordering, check it out. You can find it in a number of different places in the parks, outside of the parks, at the resort hotel quick service locations as well. So be on the lookout for those. Number 2, table service dining. So usually you used to be able to get table service dining reservations about 180 days in advance. So right around 6 months or so in advance, you could start securing those table service dining reservations. Right now that has changed since the parks reopened last June to 60 days out from when you get to, or from when your reservation is. If you're trying to get a reservation on a specific day, you're just going to be in town, you've got one day tickets, and you kind of log on, you get your park passes set up and you're looking for, dining reservations. The date is 60 days from the day you want to get it. However, if you have a trip, this is one of the other perks to booking an on-property vacation package from day one of your trip to day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many days you're going to be there, you have that entire window starting 60 days out from the first day of your trip all the way in. So that could be a huge advantage, especially if you're trying to get hard to get reservations at places like, maybe Cinderella's Royal Table or Chef Mickey's or, say Ohana when it reopens, places like that are very typically high in demand. So, and again, there's not a reopening date for Ohana. That was just sort of an example to put that out there. So the whole point of this is to keep those deadlines in mind and to have a plan before the date. So don't wait right until that time. Definitely don't wait until you get there. Yes, will there be cancellations? Sure. Sometimes there are cancellations, but not always. Don't bank on those cancellations, especially, again, we're talking about traveling with large families, large groups, especially if you have large families and large groups that you're traveling with. Get them to utilize that mobile ordering system. Pass out gift cards if you need to. That's another method you can use, I believe, through the mobile. I've not tried, but I believe you can use those through the mobile ordering platform. You have to upload that number, I think, every time. But again, another great way to kind of help folks budget and learn and that kind of thing, where you don't have to lean on a credit card every time. You can still use a gift card with mobile ordering. So, and by the way, if you're having trouble with the app or something happens, there are cast members that are stationed at all these quick service locations that can assist you with your orders if you're having issues with your mobile device or battery dies, what have you. So just be aware of that. There's a little bit of flexibility there. I mean, Disney's there to serve you. So, table service dining reservations 60 days out. Start soon. Make a plan. List those restaurants. Be aware of food allergies that people have. When you make table service reservations, they don't require you to put a name in for every single person that is on that reservation right when you make it. The advantage of doing that, though, especially if you link them, is if they're already in kind of your shared guests or your link your accounts and what have you, there's a way to add information like food allergies, and that will stay attached to their name. So when you make the reservations, that'll ding Disney system for them to be aware. So even if they're not linked right up front, and somebody has a food allergy or a food aversion, or maybe they're a vegetarian or they're eating kosher, whatever the case may be, these are things that it's important to know when you book those dining reservations. Disney's super flexible. I would say 8, 9 times out of 10, they will do what they can to cater to you. So if you're going to a place that's primarily seafood, they'll find a way to get you some, safe, maybe chicken or steak out. If you have a peanut allergy or a soy allergy or diabetic, those sorts of things, or you're vegetarian or kosher, like I said, there are different ways that Disney will try to accommodate you. They're really great with that, but they're even better if they find out in advance, especially in the context of large groups. It's super important to know those things anyway, but definitely if it's a larger group that's coming to dine at one time. The other thing I'll mention is this: it can be more challenging to get dining reservations for larger groups. So even on the first day that they're open, and again, kind of bringing it back around, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because things have changed a little bit with the pandemic, and one of those is how many spots that Disney will typically let you reserve, or the number of people that Disney will allow to be seated in one specific area. There hopefully will be some more flexibility with those numbers, with things changing into the future. But for the time being, it's just a little bit different situation. Like, they're not just going to seat a bunch of, young kids together that need supervision without somebody supervise them, and then everybody else in kind of the opposite end of the restaurant. They're going to do what they can to accommodate you. But the best thing to do is to get with somebody, hopefully your travel planner, be it me or somebody else, and have them work with you to set up a plan beforehand, to call Disney Dining, to save you time and hassle, hopefully making that happen. So more time in advance, you're able to kind of plan and kind of work things out. Hopefully we'll be able to make something happen for you. So we mentioned making sure allergies are taken into account, and this info is kind of put into My Disney Experience ahead of time. Again, that'll help table service restaurants prepare for your crew as they arrive. There's a possibility that you may be even contacted in advance by the restaurants to kind of ask some questions to figure out the kind of things that these people like and don't like and whatnot. So this is also important to know. So there are some restaurants that have prefixed kind of prices and meals. So basically a place like Cinderella's Royal Table or Be Our Guest over in the Beast Castle in New Fantasyland in Magic Kingdom, they have like a specific menu that you have to pick from. And if you look at that, you're like, well, I'm allergic to that, I don't like that, I don't like that, this person doesn't like this person's allergic to that. You could still go there, right? You can still go there. They will occasionally sprinkle some Disney magic and help you out. That's one of the reasons like why you contact somebody like me or others to have those conversations, to make a plan, and to have, help you have an amazing time. So, say your kid really like their dream is to dine in Cinderella's castle, but you don't like anything they got on the menu, or you can't eat half of what's on there. Don't let that stop you, and don't be quiet about it. Like if you have a question about something, ask, especially ask ahead of time, and hopefully we can come up with a plan. Number 4. Again, we kind of under the dining area, Disney does have some limits on the size of parties and tables at the moment. So the big thing, we kind of already mentioned that a little bit. The big thing there is just be a little flexible. Kind of have maybe a buddy system in place or something of that nature where certain people can be seated together. Try and group people if you can in advance, and that will help things. Run a little bit smoother. Attractions. So talk about dining. We're going to finish up with attractions. You'll still need to social distance in lines. Be aware of that. So if you're traveling with a large group and that large group kind of goes between the social distancing markers a little bit, you're still going to need to kind of stick to those markers as much as you can while you're in line. And I say that because Disney doesn't know. It's like when the cast members walking by and sees y'all all like clumped up together, they may say something to you about spreading apart or something like that. So just be aware of that. Try and respect that as much as possible. Also think about the other guests that are going to be around you as well. So it's not just about your crew being there, staying all clumped together. Yeah, you might be sharing rooms or whatever the case is, but not everybody around you knows that. So try and respect those rules as much as possible and be aware and kind and courteous to the people around you. And you'll have a great time, and others will too. In addition to having kind of the buddy system set up for dining, also have riding buddies set up and planned in advance. So a lot of the rides seat 2x2. Some of them seat a little bit more than 2x2. So kind of have that in mind. That'll help you get on and off the rides a little bit faster, and kind of have an advanced meeting point if somebody were to get lost. The best place to go if anybody ever does get lost or misplaced, remember, parents never lose kids. Kids never lose parents. Parents lose the kids. That's how kind of how they look at that. So you'll never hear Disney call out a lost child situation. They will call out lost parents. And when that does happen, typically the meeting spot is guest relations, which is usually towards the front of the park. So guest relations is a great place. There's also a location at Disney Springs in case anybody, even if it's not children, if it's adults, if you ever get separated, go to guest relations. They are open before the park. They're open before the park opens. They are open after the park closes. Third, under attractions, have a plan for rider swap if needed. So if you do have children, people are going to be waiting and swapping off. Can I already have that plan in advance? Magic bands are typically used, and the RFID technology through Magic Mobile and phones are used with that now. If you have a Key to the World card you have a card for your ticket as opposed to a Magic Band. A Magic Band or your phone, you can use that card. Same thing, they'll tap it. They'll help you set up with those rider swap experiences if you do have children that will not be riding a certain attraction, but one adult does need to be walking with them. The same thing for the Disney DAS Pass, the Disability Access Service. So, that is something where they don't ask you a lot of medical information, very personal stuff. You may have to give them a very basic explanation as to why, like, for example, you can't stand in lines for a long time. That's a pretty common one for different reasons that are legit that are out there. So there are a bunch of different things. You come up there hobbling, and your legs in a cast with a crutch or whatever. They're not going to ask you questions about that. But that's something you get set up in advance, and that is another thing that you need to have plans for, especially if you're traveling in a larger group. So that's kind of all we've got for tonight. I'm going to take one more last look at our comments on the news feed. So there are a lot of great comments that are kind of coming in and out there right now. Let's kind of, this is a good one. So Marie Ebersol says, Han Solo and Carbonite tables at Star Wars Themes Restaurant. So again, this is from our question of the day, kind of wrapping up our Star Wars conversation. What Star Wars experience should you add to the Disney parks? So Han Solo and Carbonite tables at Star Wars themed restaurants. Character meals, there it is again. Princess makeovers, but Leia and Padme style. That would actually be pretty cool, even for adults. And another vote for pod racing. So good stuff, y'all. Thank y'all so much for commenting on the show tonight. This makes this a lot more fun and entertaining. And like I said, we are on YouTube live for the first time in a long time. So if you're still watching tonight, which there might be like 2 of you right now, please subscribe over on YouTube. I'm going to be promoting that on Facebook because that's where most of the interaction we get is, and also on my email list as well. But we'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube. Once we hit, I think, 100 subscribers, we get our own custom URL, which that'll be a lot of fun to do also. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, if I can help you with any of your travel needs, I don't charge anything extra for my travel planning services. You pay the same amount if you were to do all the legwork yourself. I'll be available to you, and we'd love to chat more if you have any Disney travel needs, Universal, cruise lines that are, a lot of the cruise ships are coming back to their home ports, which is great to see, or all-inclusive resorts, or a custom land tour package, which I've been working on a few of those recently. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you all so much for tuning in. May the 4th be with you, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.